Many of us think that success is something that lives outside of us. It's something that we create for ourselves. But our capacity to succeed actually lives already in the body. So it's in the pulse of your breath before you step on the stage. It's the tightness in your chest when the payment lands. It's in the sudden urge to hide when the spotlight turns towards you. Maybe you think you are chasing success, but actually inside your nervous system is chasing safety, and safety is always going to win. And this is why you can hit your goal but then collapse afterwards. It's why you long for more but end up sabotaging it. It's why visibility can feel like exposure, why money can feel like pressure. It's because your body has learned more is not safe. And until your system learns a new story, you're just going to keep circling the same ceiling. So this episode is not about becoming more successful by building something bigger. It's about expanding wider. It's about teaching your body to hold the life your mind keeps dreaming of. Not forcing, not pushing, but expanding. You do not rise to the level of your strategy, nor do you rise to the level of your mindset. Mindset is only part of the equation. You rise, or you perhaps fall, to the level of what your nervous system can hold. Let's dive in. Welcome to the She Leads podcast, a space that empowers women like you to build success in a way that feels authentic, energizing, and aligned with who you really are. In a world that tries to convince us that success means hustling harder and following everyone else's rules, we're here to rewrite the script. This is about success that feels nourishing, not depleting. Success that brings the fulfillment, impact, and recognition you deserve, whilst ultimately giving you the financial power to create the future you want and inspire meaningful change in the world around you. Make sure to hit the follow button so that you never miss an episode, and come and say hello on Instagram. You can find us at she_leads.academy. Let's dive in. Hello ladies, and welcome to a brand new episode of the She Leads show. Now, I have, through my work as a coach, I've had the pleasure of working with so many women that are successful or they are looking to achieve that next level of success. And often when we start working together, one of the core things that we focus on is mindset. I know that our beliefs are shaping our reality. Our thoughts dictate how we show up in life, the opportunities that are presented to us. So I know mindset is really the core foundation for stepping into your next level of success. But I also know from my own journey that it's not the whole part of the story. And I actually realized from my own experience as well that the real bottleneck in my own success story was actually my biology. And I started to explore this relationship between both mindset, but also our capacity to receive success on a biological level. And I realized that we cannot receive beyond what our nervous system feels safe to hold. And I think this is where a lot of coaching around success, wealth can actually fall short, because it's often around just purely around belief work and thoughts and mindset. Often as well, it's about strategy. It's about, entrepreneurs thinking their way into bigger lives, more money, more clients. But the brain isn't the only thing that is making the decisions. We often think that our brain is running the show, but actually our body is constantly scanning, is this safe? And if the answer is no, it's going to shut down opportunities faster than your mind can actually make a decision on something. Now, I've worked with a lot of brilliant, successful women, either business owners, coaches. They could also be women in their careers, and they've achieved wonderful things, but they get to a certain point and it's almost like there's this invisible glass ceiling, which has nothing to do with discrimination in the workplace. It's a glass ceiling that they've created for themselves. So I've seen women that have made their first 6 figures in a year and then feeling like they need to just collapse afterwards. I've seen coaches that finally get fully booked and immediately they feel trapped and they start self-sabotaging. I've seen really confident leaders actually petrified of being visible. Now, this isn't a lack of strategy or discipline. It's that their nervous system hasn't been taught how to metabolize expansion. So remember that our nervous system has evolved to protect us from predators. It's actually interpreting success as a threat. So this is why, let's say you are a business owner and you're planning for a big launch, it can actually feel like a real physical danger. Maybe being seen by thousands, it feels like exposure. Maybe if you think about taking on more clients, it feels overwhelming. And what does the body do here? It contracts, it numbs out, it sabotages. Not because you're not brilliant at what you do, but because your biology would rather keep you safe in the familiar than risk stepping into the unknown. So really the conversation then about success isn't necessarily how do I fix my mindset? That's only part of the equation. The other question we need to ask is, can my body actually hold the level of life that I say I am wanting? And if the answer is no, no amount of mindset work or strategy are going to override this. So the breakthrough is really going to come when we stop trying to basically bulldoze our biology and instead we expand our body's capacity to hold more. Whether that's more wealth, more attention, more intimacy, more responsibility, we can hold those things without collapsing. Until your nervous system actually feels safe, you're just going to keep hitting that same ceiling again, no matter how much mindset work you've done or how ready you think you are or how much confidence you think you've built up. We can have all of those things at a mindset level, but if your nervous system doesn't feel safe, that ceiling is still going to exist. Now, this work did not even come into my radar when I first started. I am somebody that's very practical in nature and very logically minded. I've always been quite spiritual, but I think it's only sort of since starting my business that I've allowed that side of me to come out. But despite the fact I am very spiritual and what other people might seem as woo-woo, I do also have a very practical and logical mind. And I've always prided myself on my problem-solving abilities, my ability to be logical, to kind of think through problems and come up with solutions. And I think I've almost put my brain on a bit of a pedestal almost. And it was only when I realized, wow, my brain is only going to get me so far, that there needed to be something else at play here. And I think this is the thing that I perhaps didn't want to admit, that it's not always going to be my strategy or my brain that's determining how far I can go. It is also my nervous system. And that felt a bit petrifying because my brain, I felt like that was something I could work on. I had the mindset tools. I was used to using my brain within, corporate and studying law. So that was something I felt I had control over. But the nervous system, this was completely new territory for me. But I started to realize, well, actually, let's say when it comes to money, I'm not necessarily deciding how much money I make with my brain. It's not my brain makes a decision, oh, I'm going to make this much, and then this amount of money comes into my life. I don't decide how much success I can hold by just thinking about it and then that success shows up. And I feel like this is almost where the law of attraction is kind of described often in this very limited way, because it's really about thoughts creating our reality. And yes, that is true. But we also need to remember that our body plays a role as well. Our energy plays a role. And a part of our energy is shaped by what is going on in our nervous system. So I've spoken about energy work a lot, your vibration, your frequency. And I've often spoken about it from sort of this spiritual concept of energy. But if we kind of think about the science of what energy really is, it's really, well, what is going on energetically in our bodies? How much tension are you holding? What is your vibration saying? Are you holding on to anxiety or stress? These are all things that are influencing your vibration. So really, our nervous system then has a very big part to play in the success we can create, in the money that we can attract. Really, it's our nervous system that is running the show here. Now, again, this was work that just didn't even come into my radar to begin with. And I very much kind of hustled my way, I would say, through my first few years of business. Now, yes, of course, I was using my mindset. I'd put a lot of work into changing my thoughts, reprogramming my subconscious mind, changing my vibration. So it was very much a spiritual journey to create success, but I was still very influenced by my thoughts, by my logical mind, by strategy. But then I got to this point where it was a big major milestone for me in my business, where I'd been aiming for making £1 million in 1 year. And I hit this goal, and on the outside, it looked like a dream. Revenue was flowing in, clients were saying yes, everything was feeling easy. I was like, great. This is really working. This is really taken off in a bigger way than I could have ever imagined. And logically, it should have felt like freedom. But what actually happened was my system kind of went into overdrive. And all of a sudden, I had this intense anxiety. My sleep became very erratic. I felt like I was constantly on, constantly managing. Like I felt like, okay, I've got here now. Like I felt like I don't know, it was almost like I was panicking because now I've got to maintain this. Now I've got to keep growing at this rate. And it almost felt like I was treading water, trying to hold it all together. Even though, I had a team around me at this stage, I wasn't doing it all in my business by any means, but it was this kind of energetic feeling of holding it all together. And what I realized diving into this deeper was my nervous system didn't read that money or that success as safety. It read it as a threat. And then a few months later, after having this really big milestone moment where honestly I should have really been celebrating, but I actually felt quite numb by it. I was like, oh, okay, well, this isn't actually how I thought it was going to feel. I'm not kind of jumping from the rooftops, popping champagne and, booking a private jet to the Maldives. I was just like, oh, okay, right, this has happened. Great, I'm proud of myself. But now what? It was like, I can't stop. I've got to keep moving. And a few months went by and it just felt all of a sudden things were just crashing down and I was sabotaging. I was supposed to launch a few new things and I ended up just deciding very last minute, no, I don't want to do this. I had a few really amazing opportunities come up for me and I just felt so stressed and anxious that I ended up turning these opportunities down. I had people reaching out to work with me and I was basically just feeling like I didn't have the capacity to say yes to people, even though I had the structures in my business that allowed for this. And I was thinking, what is going on here? Like, why am I not just allowing myself to enjoy this moment? Why am I feeling so anxious and stressed? Like, surely I should be celebrating here. And I realized that my body literally could not hold what I'd created. My success had outgrown my capacity. And I think a big part of this was because my success was very, very fast. My 3 years into my business and I was already making £1 million. Okay, so it was for other types of businesses, maybe that doesn't seem so quickly. I know that, I spoke with startups and they've done this in the space of like their first year. But for me, it felt like it was just a whirlwind. And I realized that, again, my success had outgrown my capacity and we don't rise to the level of our vision. You fall to the level of your nervous system. So you're always going to come back down to the capacity of your nervous system. And really, your body doesn't care about your goals. It doesn't care about how much money you make or how successful you are. It cares about your survival. And that often means keeping you in the familiar. Even if the familiar is playing small or overworking or just never even quite getting there in the first place. So when you're suddenly seen by more people, your nervous system can actually interpret this as exposure. Or let's say more money comes in, your body might read this as pressure, responsibility, danger. Expansion often does not feel safe, and so the body then contracts. And what does this contraction look like? It can look like procrastination, self-sabotage, overworking, burnout. I think I was doing all of these things. I was simultaneously procrastinating on certain things, but overworking on other things, and overworking as a way to perhaps procrastinate on other things. So it was just a messy time. And I think what I'd realized up until this point was, okay, up until here, I've always been thinking about how can I get to this next goal? But I've never actually thought about, well, what happens when I reach that goal? And I just assumed that I would keep setting the bar higher. But what if now I've got to this goal and it almost feels like I can't breathe? And the thought of even, let's say, doubling that goal to get to my first, £2 million year, that at that point in my time, I thought, I can't even think about this right now. This just isn't even on my radar. So this wasn't that I wasn't motivated. I still had the same drive and passion and ambition. They were still within me. But at this moment in my life, my system was doing its job. It was trying to keep me safe by pulling me back to what it could tolerate. Now, again, I'm somebody that's always loved to, pride myself on my logical mind, being a problem solver, overcoming challenges. But you can't outthink adrenaline. You can't think your way into safety. So that experience after my first million showed up for me. And I think this is everyone that has this upper limit. It's not always just going to be about mindset. I think up until this point, I'd always seen my upper limit as a mindset issue. But I realized, okay, it's also about biology here. My body didn't know how to feel safe with more, so it was just shutting me down. And I've seen this play out so many times with so many incredible women where they've maybe even received a lot of coaching, but the coaching has been very much on thoughts, shaping your actions, shaping how you show up. We can do all of those things, but again, your nervous system needs to be able to handle any changes you make. So this is why I often refer to this work as this invisible ceiling, because so often we don't even realize that this ceiling is there. We don't realize, we're getting to this upper limit level, especially if you are somebody that's done a lot of mindset work already, because you think, well, I'm working on these things, like I've got this covered. And yet you're still not where you want to be. It's because it is a capacity ceiling. So if your body can only hold the stress of, let's say, serving 5 clients, you're not going to sustain 50 clients. If your body can only handle the capacity to work one-on-one, you're going to struggle if you move into a group setting. If your nervous system feels unsafe beyond making £10,000 a month, it's going to quietly pull you back to that benchmark. If you're being seen online, if this is something you feel that feels quite dangerous, you'll never stay consistent with visibility. Admittedly, actually, this is one of the areas that I've always struggled with, visibility. Luckily, I have been able to build my business in a way with the structures and systems in place that I do not need to be constantly visible online all of the time. I go through periods where I will be much better at it, but in terms of my own personal social media, I'll kind of go through waves. It is something that I want to do. It's something that I want to challenge myself with, just because I do actually enjoy creating content. I really, really enjoy creating it, but actually being visible video-wise, I've always struggled with this consistency piece. As I said, my business doesn't require that. We're very much filling out our programs and my coaching sessions without me needing to be online all the time. However, when I think about this, I know that there's a part of me where it feels dangerous to be seen, to be fully seen. And if I think about building up, I've got an audience, but if I think about growing that even bigger, it can sometimes feel a little bit suffocating. Especially with things like, like call out culture. It's like, will I say the wrong thing? Will I accidentally offend somebody? I'm not talking about certain things that perhaps people want me to talk about. I, for example, never get political in the content that I share, but I'm like, maybe I should be talking about these things that I'm passionate about, calling things out more that I, offended by. And I start to overthink things. Maybe you feel this as well, but it's definitely something I am still personally working through. But something that I know is that this thing is very real. The feeling of it's dangerous to be super, super visible. And again, my system only allows me to stretch so far as what I will feel safe. So I will get visible. For me, my safest space is actually this podcast. I love it because I can just get in my zone and I can talk. And I feel like I talk without so much of a filter. I just focus on what I want to share. But yeah, I digress. My point is, the size of your nervous system's window of tolerance is going to be the size of your success. And the work here is not about fixing yourself, fixing your mindset. That's maybe part of it. Well, not necessarily fixing, but expanding your mindset. But the real work is actually expanding your capacity, teaching your body that more money, more visibility, more clients can feel safe. And when your nervous system is regulated, success doesn't feel like pressure. It will feel like flow. I use this word a lot, and I think people don't always know what I mean by this. Flow, I mean, it just feels easy. You're not forcing yourself to do anything. Maybe you are getting out of your comfort zone, but it feels like an expansive decision. And it feels easy, like success comes to you easy. It feels like everything you touch turns to gold. And you're not having to micromanage anything or force things or hustle. You just simply allow yourself to hold more. Now, one of the reasons we made a decision to include somatics within our coach training inside the She Leads Academy is because no matter what niche you're in, whether you're helping people become more successful, helping people find love, helping people find their purpose, create more money in their lives, it all comes back to your capacity to hold the desire that you're wanting. So yes, your mindset is going to help you create the self-belief to get the things that you want. But again, your energy, your nervous system, what's going on in your body, that's also going to shape what you can ultimately hold. It's not just about getting the thing, it's being able to sustain it and not collapse, not break. So let's say, for example, you're a coach that works with women who want to manifest a new relationship. They want to find the love of their life. Your work as a coach, you may think is, okay, I help them find their soulmate. That's great. But actually what comes next? Yes, maybe mindset is the thing that helps them meet their soulmate because they have that worthiness. They have deeper self-love. They have more belief in themselves and more confidence. Wonderful. They meet the man. Great. But what happens if their body doesn't feel safe to receive and hold that love? Ultimately, they start self-sabotaging the relationship. Maybe even they end it altogether, even though this person might be their soulmate. So this work weaves into all different types of coaching niches, and this is something now that we explore within She Leads, how to bring the somatics into the work that you do. So it's not just about using the mind alone to support your clients. So some of the things to pay attention to here, whether this is for your own growth or you are supporting your clients, it's looking at where you're tipping into survival mode. So it might be you notice a client, they're going into fight or flight mode. So maybe they are working a lot harder. Maybe they're obsessing over the details. Maybe they're overworking. Maybe they're getting very confrontational with people. Fight or flight mode. Or it might be freeze mode, but this is where people procrastinate, maybe go numb, maybe forget to follow through with things. Or it might be just collapsing, burning out, shutting down, just losing motivation entirely. And what happens when you get closer to your goals, whether that's success in business or money, if you are getting there faster than your body's capacity, you're going to maybe get to that goal or achieve that desire, but it's going to feel very heavy instead of liberating. So this was, again, going back to my experience, that £1 million year, it felt a lot heavier than what I'd anticipated. I thought I'd be celebrating. I thought I would, be feeling amazing. And yes, I was proud, but there was that heaviness there. So remember then, success is not just about how much you achieve. It's about how much you can hold without breaking. It's not just about getting to the goal. We want to get there, but we want to say, yes, that was an amazing journey. Let's go even higher. Most of us do not fail because we're not capable. We fail because we outgrow our nervous system's window and we just do not know how to expand it. So if this is something that you would like to dive deeper into, either for you or for those that you lead, then if you haven't done so yet, make sure to explore the She Leads Academy. You can trial it for free. Go to she-leads.co/free free trial registration. I will also link that in the show notes. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, ladies, and I will catch you on the next episode.
If today's episode lit something up in you and you are ready to build a coaching business that not only changes lives but creates the income and freedom you deserve, then right now you can request a free trial of our She Leads Academy coach training. To get your free trial, just head over to Instagram and visit us at she_leads.academy. You will find the link to the free trial in our bio. I cannot wait to see what's possible for you.